Before we start this episode of Through the Gears, this episode is presented by My Place Hotels. My Place Hotels is a proud partner of frontstretch.com, and it's the official hotel sponsor for Front Stretch. With plush beds, in-room kitchens, and pet-friendly hotels, My Place makes the perfect pit stop when traveling. Racing fans can use promo code FRONTSTRETCH to save 10% on your stay at any of their nationwide properties. That's 10% off nationwide with code FRONTSTRETCH. This racing season, be sure to make My Place your place with My Place Hotels. Thank you again for sponsoring today's episode of Through the Gears. Howdy, everyone. I'm Wyatt Watson. Welcome back to another episode of Through the Gears, where we go in to the second weekend at Atlanta and give y'all the best bets on the market at EchoPark Speedway. Last week, we weren't so lucky as Chase Briscoe found a underdog win ahead of our picks, Denny Hamlin, Ryan Blaney, and for you Twitter followers, Chris Buescher. He conserved enough fuel to win his first race for Joe Gibbs Racing and third of his career. And we're looking to bounce back in a rare Saturday night showcase in Atlanta. We also have the In-Season Challenge coming on for the Cup Series, and me and Brad Harrison will give y'all good analysis and feedback for the 5-race showdown between 32 drivers and head-to-head matchups. And I'm excited to get into that analysis with him in this episode. Without further ado, let's get into it as we go through the gears. Joining me now is the writer of 5 Points to Ponder bi-weekly on frontstretch.com. It is Brad Harrison. Brad, it's great to see you. Been a good minute since we saw each other back at Barber.
Doing well.
How are you doing today?
Doing well. How about you?
Dude, doing great.
Good.
It's good to have you on the show for the first time for Through the Gears as we go through the best odds and best bets for our second trip to Atlanta, your home track, obviously. And the big one is Ryan Blaney with the best average finish in the next gen era. He has an average finish of 6.7, and he comes in as the favorite at plus 850, as you can see on the bottom of the screen as it scrolls. Ryan, the only thing he's missing at the new Atlanta is that race win at plus 850, and his teammates right behind him at 10-1. How tough is it going to be for the field to crack the Penske code here at Atlanta?
Oh, extremely tough. And I think, the only way that I think things could go wrong for that bunch is either number one, they just get the wrong way on strategy, but also, if you have kind of things where one gets tied up in an incident, and we saw that this past spring where, Cindric probably arguably may have had one of the best cars to beat, and things shook out in a bad way, and I think the Fords, the Penske cars especially, just do a masterclass. It seems like every time we go to a super speedway, whether it's EchoPark Speedway, Talladega, or Daytona, all three of those tracks, it just seems like they just have it down to a science of how they are going to work together, especially as far as the late race goes. And that's a key reason why I think Penske, especially at these tracks, is a strong contender every time.
Yeah, Joe Logano with 2 wins, one of the only few with multiple wins on the new configuration. William Byron, the only one who's won here in multiple attempts as well. And then Austin Cindric has a lot of good stage wins and has raced up front with his Penske teammates, and you can't count out Josh Berry all the way down 28-1, who we'll talk about later, who has that Penske power and was running up front for the most part before getting caught up in that last wreck at the end of the spring or the second race of the season. But yeah, the Penske guys are just absolutely tough as nails. They control the field real well compared to the other teams. Even your 4-car teams of Hendrick Motorsports and Joe Gibbs, they have not been able to properly execute the plan, as we say, and just the Fords in general have that pace at the super speedways in the past, and they've shown it. and no one better than Team Penske. But right behind them, in terms of the odds, you have that Ford of Brad Keselowski, who's been oh so close, has a second place or a second, who had a finish of second in the past, alongside William Byron at 18-1 odds, and then Kyle Busch at 18-1, who, of course, who can forget the 3-wide finish between Blaney and Daniel Suarez as well with Kyle Busch. Those guys, of those three, who do you think can put on the biggest threat to those Penske's?
Yeah, I think it's William Byron, and of course the X factor is who he gets hooked up with. One big thing that could be a big key for William Byron is, until the race earlier this year in Atlanta, I mean, Kyle Larson was snake bit. I mean, if there was something bad that could happen to a driver in the super speedway race, it was going to happen to Kyle Larson. And the fact that Kyle Larson actually finished near the front, it was almost it's an odd way to say it, call it a victory, but as many times as bad things happened, he was there. So I think if Byron can get locked in with Kyle Larson, who as of late has shown that they finally have racing luck on their side of these tracks, I mean, that could be big for them. And you've also can't count out Chase Elliott. I mean, it's been a kind of a weird season for Chase Elliott. He doesn't have a race win, but points wise, they've been so solid. So, especially in the late going, if Chase Elliott's kind of around the top 10 to 12, I mean, that will be a welcome sight for a guy like William Byron and have a good pusher from the Hendrick stable.
Absolutely. I mean, Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson are right there with him at 18-1, and Kyle Larson, you could call it a 3-wide finish at the caution and coming to the line theoretically, but he was right there battling Carson Hocevar and the race winner Christopher Bell at 19-1. All these guys way up here on the odds breakdown here. Elliott, a former winner, and in this specific race, it hasn't been ran on a Saturday night before. William Byron has won really the only night summer race we've had here, albeit it was a rain shortened win. But at all of them guys 18-1, 19-1, even Denny Hamlin at 21-1 has been in contention before, but just can't quite close the deal here at Atlanta. Denny Hamlin specifically, I'm on with 21-1. You don't really see, except for like road courses where he really doesn't have the chance really of winning with all the talent that comes around at road courses, street courses like Chicago next week. But Denny Hamlin coming off of a win at Michigan, second place at Pocono, I think momentum is on the side of the Joe Gibbs race, and Chase Briscoe winning at Pocono. Momentum really on the side of the Joe Gibbs Racing camp.
Oh, absolutely. And of course, with Chase Briscoe's win, and that's just the impact of getting that race win. I mean, I think a key thing to watch is, now that Chase Briscoe is in the postseason, they don't have to worry about, hey, if we take a chance here and we get Wyatt up and finish 30th, so what? We're in the postseason now. So through that, I think that really opens up. Does Chase Briscoe take chances in the draft they normally wouldn't take? And remember, I mean, he finished top 5 in Daytona to start the season too. So I mean, and so I think too. So it's almost a point too. The other half factor of getting that win is like, I mean, do these drivers have a point to prove now to say, okay, I don't want to show that just one fluke win guys in the postseason. Now there's the opportunity to make the statement with that too. So definitely not one I would count out.
To piggyback off that, I mean, you go all the way down and look at their fourth teammate, Ty Gibbs, looking for that win. He's 45-1 odds. Now all three of those guys, I think that objective, if he's up there and has a real shot to win, is you push that 54 car, who has won on this configuration in the Xfinity side, to that win.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. It's I think there's a clear mission for the Joe Gibbs Racing side. I think you look at the other Toyotas as well, of the 2311 camp, and Tyler Reddick and Bubba Wallace, both standing at 28-1. I mean, Bubba Wallace has ran well here. Tyler Reddick is no slouch. And that 2311 crew, I've said time and time again on this show, there just seems to be an ire in that team right now, especially with the lawsuit going on. And for the first time, I think Tyler Reddick's won at Talladega, so is Bubba Wallace in the past in the Gen 6 era. But on this track specifically, it's just about sealing the deal. I mean, their third guy, Riley Herbst, all the way down in 91. There has been of no assistance, it seems like, at all this year for that team.
Right.
And has been adds also the extra leg of that team kind of holding them down. I think 23XI, though, could they have a little bit of a shot to get something done here? What do you think, Brad?
I mean, there's obviously no doubt that they can be in position to win, but just seem, because Bubba Wallace, we've seen multiple times. I mean, final stage, they've been in a position to win. But I think, like you just said a minute ago, I think, those guys are not going to say anything about this publicly, but you just can't help but wonder, at what point do you just get fatigued trying to block out all the off track stuff going on because it's out there. You go back the last 6-7 races with Bubba Wallace. Remember, earlier this year, the whole dynamic on Bubba Wallace was, okay, he's getting solid finishes after solid finish. He's got a cushion for the postseason. Well, now you're almost back to where Bubba Wallace has been the last couple of years, where you don't have a win, so you're worrying now about in the heat of the summer scraping your way in the playoffs via points, which I know is not a place that any driver wants to be, but that's where they're at. So the time to tell soon will be that, is this pressure going to wear everybody at 23XI down, or are they going to kind of thrive under that?
A couple other teams that to look out for. I mean, Carson Hocevar, of course, finishing second here in the last go around, stands at 25-1. Chris Buescher, I think, at 22-1, properly valued, but I think a couple times he's just found the big one or crashed out of this race a couple times. But he is sporting that Cinnamon Toast Crunch scheme, that literally that sweet looking scheme. Who he already has a partner in crime with Corey LaJoy apparently on social media. I've seen he's at 65-1 if anyone's wondering about that, and he's not out of the table obviously. But you have Ross Chastain and Daniel Suarez at Trackhouse as well, staying at 25-1, 31 respectively. Those guys, I mean, Suarez has won here before. He's ran well here and finished runner-up a couple times as well. And then you have Ross Chastain, who's always seemed to make some daring moves at this track. Those two guys, I think are flying under the radar going into this weekend.
Well, and it even goes back to, because you even go back to Mexico City, SVG took everyone out behind the woodshed. But, I mean, Chastain had a pretty solid piece, and Suarez, to a degree, was pretty solid there too. So I think you really have to think about from that to where SVG, I think, made everybody there. And it's the same thing, I think, when you've got one guy who's pretty good at style of racing, how much that impact everyone else, that rubs off on everyone else. So I think because again, with Trackhouse, like you said, I mean, Chastain can run front and super speedway races, and so can Suarez. So those three guys, I think, are going to be hungry and everything. And it's a case of just, if Ross Chastain may have a good chance in the end to smash a watermelon on his way to victory lane to get some peaches.
Looking at the underdogs, because Atlanta being a drafting track, you really get an opportunity to bet farther down the board here. Ryan Preece, 50-1, who finished second before the penalty at Talladega, is a guy I have my eye on just from RFK and the momentum that he's had with that team. And having good races at pretty much any track we've gone to so far. Another guy, just from the numbers itself, is AJ Allmendinger. He has an average finish of 11th here in 3 tries, and with a top 5 finish. And college racing, but more importantly, AJ Allmendinger isn't no slouch at restrictor plate racing as well. Those are two guys I really got my eye on. Brad, who do you got your eye on going to this race?
Well, I think, and I know I've said this a time or two at other super speedways. I mean, I think we've reached a point where we don't need to talk about being surprised when Front Row Motorsports runs well at super speedway tracks. I mean, I'm here in Central Georgia. I'm about less than an hour away from Unionville, Georgia, home of David Reagan, and David, one of the more popular wins for your underdogs was when David Reagan won at Talladega. But Todd Gilliland, we've seen it time after time again, has had pretty good chances to win stages. And be in contention weight at super speedway tracks. And the same thing when Michael McDowell, I mean, he won the Daytona 500 with Front Row Motorsports, and he's been in contention at Talladega and super speedway style tracks there. So, I really think you got to really keep an eye on Front Row Motorsports to be in contention to get a pretty good finish. And then you talk about those guys, and I know, I think McDowell was the first one who I know had told me that this statement during media sessions here, but a word you're going to hear a lot this weekend from drivers, especially if you're outside the top 20 in points, is they call the phrase is called opportunity races. And it's what you think it is. We're probably not going to get on the playoffs via points, so we're in the position to take chances to get a win to get to the postseason. Because you go back and look at the 3-wide finish last year in Atlanta. What if it's Kyle Busch who gets that, a couple inches instead of Daniel Suarez? I mean, Suarez in the playoffs and Kyle Busch is, and who knows what the dynamic around each of those drivers is.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. really calls this the box office ticket that we need to go to a couple years ago, and I think so as well with the not just the odds, but just the action on track too.
Well, and on that, I think it was either Hamlin or Keselowski last year. I forget which. It was earlier this year who more or less said, of the super speedway races, this is of the 3 tracks, this is one that is more enjoyable to race than the other 3, because you feel like you're a little. I think going back I think the short version of it is you feel like you're a little more control of the racing package as a driver compared to the other 2 tracks. I know because I remember being in the media center in Atlanta when they announced they were going to reprofile this track, and 98% of the drivers were livid about it. And I think, social media, I know, is a burst of like, Marcus Smith, what in the world are you doing? And we've seen since then that Marcus Smith and Steve Swift and the Brain Trust of Speedway Motorsports got this one right.
Yeah, absolutely. They've gotten it right with the action that this track has provided the last couple of years, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how our picks really go as we move into that segment. I'll start with you, Brad. The 4 guys you got your eye on overall, whether from a value standpoint or just from the favorites, if you want to pick them, who do you got going into this weekend for your winners at Atlanta Motor Speedway for the second go round?
Like we said earlier, Ryan Blaney, you've got to look at him. I mean, he's shown he can run well these types of tracks time and time again. I think you've also got to look at William Byron. He's been in a little bit of a un-Byron-like lull, and the fact that this is a track he's been successful at, I think you've got to circle him. As far as a value guy, I think you've got going back to Colin Racing, look at Ty Dillon. I mean, Ty Dillon has done a great job all year long of just keeping your stuff together and not messing stuff up, and that's how you keep a job as a driver in this sport. And so, for the value of what you would get for Ty Dillon, that could really produce good results there. And then then I would also mention Brad Keselowski too, because the last couple weeks, some really good momentum for the 6-car out of RFK Racing, and things go good for them in the right way. The dynamic of the season for Keselowski changes overnight.
Going deep in your bag for the underdog with Ty Dillon at 150 to 1 odds. That's bold right there. I respect the hell out of it. So, but yeah, all the other 3 are big hitters for the win, and I share one of them in Ryan Blaney at the odds-on favorite, +8.5. I can't really put too many units on any of these guys in the first place because it is a super speedway and literally anyone could win it. But I think for sure that the cream rises to the top more often than not here at Atlanta Motor Speedway, and Ryan Blaney is the top of that cream with 8.5 to 1 odds off FanDuel. I put 2 units on him. How about a Penske affiliated guy in Josh Berry at 28 to 1? Highly undervalued, I think, at 28 to 1. I put a unit and a half down on him, and his best market is on DraftKings right now. And listen, I believe he won a stage in stage 2 here, if I'm not mistaken. But he ran up there with the Penske guys all day long in this race.
Yeah, and honestly, when he did that back in February, that was almost a sign of he's going to win a race this year.
And then he won it at Las Vegas.
Yeah. So that was a sign early on, like, those guys, the driver crew chief combo is clicking over there.
Absolutely. And Barry and Wood Brothers Racing, they've just had a healthier season than you've seen with the likes of Harrison Burton. It dates back to even when Matt DiBenedetto was racing with that team in the Gen 6 era and was making playoff appearances based off points. They didn't even get a win with Matt DiBenedetto, or close a couple times at super speedways, but they've come back and they've shown the speed at multiple different tracks. And of course, Josh Berry, a great short track guy, but at the super speedways has been no slouch. Of course, he's the lowest I'm going to go on the list today. If I'm going to call out a underdog guy, I'll go back to my Ryan Preece call out at 50-1. But right now, I'll wait to see where things line up for practice and qualifying. But for now, I would go with a guy who finished second in this race, in Carson Hocevar at 25-1. I've been high on Carson Hocevar so many weeks, and this track just shown that he could race the hell out of this in the night specifically. Carson Hocevar 25-1 off DraftKings. I put 2 units on there. And finally, Denny Hamlin at 21-1 is just a value pick. It's plain and simple. I mean, he doesn't have the win. He's wrecked out a couple times here at Atlanta, but Denny Hamlin on super speedways, even though it's the Gen 7 and it is a different style of racing in and of itself, he's still a veteran on these types of tracks. At 21-1, I think is highly insane that he's that high of an odd at 21-1. So another 2 units there, and his best odds is on FanDuel as well. What do you think about those picks there, Brad?
Especially Hamlin. I know, he's just gone that run of consistency. And I think you saw with the way that he ran it, Pocono, that was a shot across the bow at everybody of, I'm laid back. I don't care. The pressure's off. And that's how he kind of raced that way. And what better way to head to a track like where we're going this weekend to have that mentality. Hocevar is the same way. He's one of those where that first one has to be coming soon.
Yeah.
He's raced. I mean, it may or might not end up that way, but just if you follow just trends and momentum, signs are pointing towards that. And my gosh, you go back to this past February. I mean, if the caution comes out a tad later, does he win that race?
Maybe.
I mean,
if it doesn't come out, does he get it to the line?
Yeah. Or maybe he may be wrecking somebody coming across the line, and
we know how Carson Hocevar runs sometimes.
Well, because again, I mean, you knew
his Texas
is
winning.
Have lasting memory of because it's right there in the infield of the ball field after the race. You've got Chastain and Hocevar. I think trying to kind of have I'm trying to give you some personal advice here, and of course, I mean, when you see a driver talking to another one and he's putting his hand on his shoulder, you're thinking, is someone about to take a swing at somebody here or not?
Yeah.
So I think, and truthfully, I think that's what everybody was waiting to happen.
Yeah, he showed that he's not afraid to get by anybody, no matter how deep the connection is. And those last moments, which you want out of a driver if you're Aspire Motorsports and number 77 team. So I think Hocevar for sure could play a big role in this and possibly get his first win here at Atlanta, potentially with Spire Motorsports. We'll see when it comes Sunday. But we also have our prop picks coming. I'll start this off here. I like William Byron at a top 5 at plus 350. Look, he's won here 2 times before and getting to the top 5. He's been consistently up front on multiple super speedway tracks at plus 350 for a top 5. I'd put 2 units down for that. His best bet is off Bet Rivers. Logano at the top 5, another 2-time winner here at 2-1 odds, put 2.5 units on for him. I'm a little bit more confident in Team Penske staying up there, racing around for the lead at 2-1 odds. Logano is just the best odds of the Penske trio just to get a top 5. Denny Hamlin top 10 is plus 135. I put 3 units down on that. just Hamlin, again, consistency is the key here. And he's been a great driver on super speedways in the past. I'm going to lean on that experience. And I called him out for potentially the underdog. I'll give Ryan Preece a top 5 prop, he sits at 8-1 on FanDuel right now. I put it just a unit down for him there for the top 5 here at EchoPark Speedway. Who do you got for props, Brad?
Okay, so top 3, I think you've got to go with Ryan Blaney. What he's done with super speedway speaks for itself. Top 5, I think Chase Elliott. It will be typical what Chase Elliott has done here over the past, really almost the whole season of not being spectacular, but finding a way near the top 5 towards the end. Top 10, I think you've got to go with Todd Gilliland there. Again, just going back to earlier, just how the good pieces that Front Row Motorsports seems to show up at super speedway. So I think you've really got to give him a look there. And then Atlanta Speedway, aka EchoPark Speedway, whatever you want to call it, or the old timers want to call it Atlanta International Raceway, if you were to throw it back. But I think even though it's I'm pretty sure Chevrolet's their official vehicle. But unfortunately for that side of things, I think you're going to see a Ford in victory lane Saturday night.
Yeah, I mean, Ford, I don't have it up on here, but the clear favorite is probably going to be the Fords here. I always like calling a Todd Gilliland top 5 or top 10 out every now and then. He's 2-1 right now off of Caesars. The top 5 for Chase Elliott looks like a plus 350. His best bet is off of Bet Rivers as well. And then the top 3, your favorite of Ryan Blaney. I think that's cool with a plus 250. I mean, he's been so super consistent with his average finishes. And I think Bet Rivers is highly undervalued. I think it's still an undervalue at 2.5-1 odds for his top 3. We wish you luck at EchoPark Speedway, at Atlanta Speedway, at Atlanta in general for these picks. Before we continue the podcast, this episode of Through the Gears is sponsored by My Place Hotels. My Place is a proud sponsor of Front Stretch and the official hotel partner of the site. With plush beds, in-room kitchens, and pet-friendly hotels, My Place makes for the perfect pit stop when traveling. Race fans can use promo code FRONTSTRETCH to save 10% on your stay at any of our nationwide properties. That's 10% off nationwide with code FRONTSTRETCH. This season, be sure to make My Place your place with My Place Hotels. We have something cool. Normally I go into the lower series here, but we got something unprecedented going on for the next couple of weeks, and that is the NASCAR In-Season tournament. And the odds for it is very interesting. Nothing we've ever seen before. Denny Hamlin is the odds-on favorite to win this, starting at the number 1 seed. He's tied with William Byron, according to DraftKings, at 5-1 odds, and Byron starting pretty low or somewhere in the middle of the pack. I think Hamlin for sure. He's going with I think it's going to be tougher than people think because we have 2 road courses or street course and a road course in this 5-race round of races. And yeah, he has Ty Dillon, but you even called Ty Dillon a winner here at Atlanta. How tough really for anyone is it going to be for these guys to come up with the win comparatively to brackets similar to March Madness that we see in the college basketball world?
Yeah, and similar to college basketball, it's all about the draw and the seed you get. You may be a better driver, but I mean, what if you're just so happen to match up with the driver of the track where he is just lights out so much better than everyone else at one track compared to the rest of them. It's all about it's all about matchups as always.
I'm gonna go ahead and pull up my bracket for the in-season or the in-season challenge because I think it's very interesting here. I got Tyler Reddick, and I was wrestling, and if you look closely, if you could see it, I had Chris Buescher. I have Chris Buescher and Daniel Suarez making big runs. Because again, Daniel Suarez really well at this track before and has won at Atlanta. And then you have a street course and a road course. One of them Sonoma, he's won at before. And then he goes into Dover and runs into Christopher Bell, and that's
Right.
Christopher Bell, of course. I had Busher, and I thought about Busher going all the way, but really his Dover numbers are enough for me to go after it. And then the breakdown goes you have to break it down all the way, matchup by matchup, all the way to Indianapolis for the Brickyard 400. And Reddick, just overall, I know, again, 23-11. I mean, he's going to have to go against Kyle Larson at Atlanta, and he'll have to outrun him there. But then you get the 2 road courses, which he's pretty much a road course ringer on. He'll go against – I have him going up against William Byron at Sonoma. But then Dover and then Indy, pretty straightforward for that team and their speed. Tyler Reddick being the winner is very possible. He's at I believe he's at a 7-1 odds, and Bell on the other side also at 7-1 odds. Pretty favored. But if you wanted to go with an upset winner, I think Chris Buescher could certainly somehow pull it off for RFK and really his team, the number 17 team. Brad, right now going into this, who do you got winning the in-season tournament yourself?
Well, I'll tell you, it's really all over the place. I really feel like I think you got to look at Christopher Bell, because you mentioned being in position at Dover, and you look at his, you figure, barring an upset by Stenhouse this weekend, then look, Stenhouse Super Speedway, you never know. That could just upset the apple cart there in a big way. But you figure you like Bell's odds in the second round of probably going against Ross Chastain, and the big thing he would have to go through in round 3 is you would probably either Chase Elliott or Josh Berry, and Christopher Bell, Denny Hamlin in the 4th round. That could be pretty fun. If you look on the other side in round 2, you got potential, Ryan Blaney against William Byron. I mean, depending on how things roll there, that could be on the other side. But it could be a pretty fun final 5 into that 5th race with William Byron and Christopher Bell. That's two. I'd probably say those 2 go head to head for the final with Bell taking it. Yeah,
very, very fair at 7-1 odds again. Based off DraftKings.
The first round matchup that really sticks out to me is you've got Bubba Wallace and Daniel Suarez, because Bubba Wallace is a 9 seed and Suarez is 24th, but Suarez can win on a super speedway race. So
I think the big matchup, and I think it's right in the center of these matchups here, is 16-17. You got old timers Kyle Busch and Brad Keselowski, both big favorites, or both big challengers to the favorites going into this race, and they're matched up between each other for this in-season tournament. I think it has some potential to make some storylines for sure, but also pay attention to what's going on in the racetrack, and are these guys going to work with each other at Atlanta and whatnot?
Well, so I'll just put this out there, food for thought. If you Google right now NASCAR In-Season Tournament, the first 2 things on top stories that come up are from ESPN and CBS Sports. Those are not outlets that are day-to-day covering the sport like NBC and Fox Sports. So the fact that the lead items you see talking about this are from 2 outlets that, when was the last time either of those outlets covered a race live, flag to flag? So the fact that it's even being discussed on the media outlet that doesn't normally cover the sport, that's a win in itself right there.
That'll do it for this episode of Through the Gears. Thank you, Brad, again for coming on to the show. Where can the people follow your content for the next couple of weeks on Front Stretch?
So as always, FS Brad H on X or Twitter or whatever you want to call that social network, and obviously feel free to follow the rest of our team at Front Stretch, depending on NASCAR, IndyCar, or on grassroots. Feel free to follow our team as we tirelessly get after it every week.
Mentioned it earlier, we had good coverage from Barber about 2 months ago now, but had a great time. I had a great time with you out there, and it was a hell of a trip. So check out all the stuff that he has whenever he's at the track, whenever he's riding for frontstretch.com, or getting exclusive interviews. As always, again, Brad, thank you for coming on. Be sure to tune in for all of my stuff on Twitter at YW Racing and on Instagram at Wyatt_GameTime_Watson. And check out all the latest from the Front Stretch Podcast Network, including the Bringing the Heat with Brian Nolan, and then Front Stretch Happy Hour with Trey Lyle, Michael Massey, and Dalton Hopkins as they preview their list of top NASCAR prospects, one of the big topics, and then also the San Diego rumors that are going around with them potentially joining the schedule. Also, be sure to check into Stock Car Scoop with Caleb Barnes after all the action is concluded from EchoPark Speedway. Also, be sure to check out the Pit Straight with coverage from Formula One's Austria Grand Prix on Sunday morning here in the States. From Brad Harrison, I am Wyatt Watson. Thank you for joining us for Through the Gears. Let's make some money in a Saturday night shootout at Atlanta.
My Place Hotels is proud to be the official hotel partner of Front Stretch. With plush beds, in-room kitchens, and pet-friendly hotels, My Place makes for the perfect pit stop when traveling. Front Stretch fans can use promo code FRONTSTRETCH to save 10% on your stay at any of our nationwide properties. Sign up for our Stay Rewarded program to get even more savings. With My Place Hotels, don't just stay rewarded.